Yo, how are you doing, folks? Welcome to episode 73 of the Simpa Life Podcast. It is another beautiful day here in March. We are slowly creeping towards spring and the equinox. Do hope you have some time to get out in nature and enjoy the changing of the season and the start of spring. Obviously, I say that to my northern hemispheric listeners. To you guys in the south, go enjoy your winter. You've had your summer. It's our turn to have the sunshine. And speaking of sunshine, a ray of sunshine that's going to light up your lives for the next hour is the return of probably one of our most popular guests so far, who is an American, actually a now naturalized American, sort of Canadian-born actor, activist, comedian, and one half of the world's most iconic stoner duo. Is Mr. Tommy Chong. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. That says it all.
I want to be a bit more concise compared to sort of last time. We listed off quite a lot of your accolades at the start of the previous podcast, which I'm going to shamelessly plug, and it will be tagged in the bio below, folks. Episode 28, back in May 21. So I think quite a lot has changed in those 10 months, both sides of the Atlantic. We seem a bit freer. Wow. We're a bit more able to move, and the pandemic seems to be stabilizing, I think, globally.
At least this part of it, anyway.
Yeah, this phase. Yeah, exactly that. It feels like it might be in the eye of the storm here.
No, we're good. We're good to go. What we're doing, we're paying for our past sins. All that climate change. What happens when you threaten the earth? The earth has a way of sending out little microscopic germs that sort of takes care of the problem. I mean, I love it when people start thinking that they can somehow affect the earth, it's the ego. It's the human's ego, You give them some schooling, and they think that if they know, say, a few things, they think that they know everything, and especially with the climate. But one thing about Mother Earth, it's been here a long time, and it's gone through everything you can go through, and it's still going through it. So what we will eventually learn to do, like the natives and all the indigenous people around the world, is how to live in harmony with nature, and instead of always kind of like treating nature as something that they can deal with without consequences,
kind of serve a dominion and control over, and
we were born with that attitude in order to keep us here, to keep us learning, but it's what I found anyway, is that the animal, the greed. And I liken greed, the greed to gerbils or elephant or buffaloes going over the cliff, because they're stampeded toward the cliff, and everybody's running toward the cliff, and the ones in the middle, they got no choice. So they're taking over the thing, and that was the way the natives would slaughter the buffalo, and get their clothing and their meat and everything else. Earth is that's Earth. That's the way Earth is. So when the humans start polluting the Earth, in spite of warnings, then the pandemics. Because just think what the pandemic did. You talk about no-fly zone over the Ukraine. Earth created, with the pandemic, they created a no-fly zone over the entire planet. And kept it that way until the numbers started going down, and then they started coming back. But that's what we're dealing with now, but instead, but humans are humans, and we're just plodding along and evolving and dissolving. and it's fun. It's good.
That's a nice expression, like that, evolving and dissolving. Yeah, I like that. That is a really good way of looking at it. Somebody said, so before we started recording as well, like this time is running out. And I think that's a beautiful way of encapsulating that. Yeah, you're evolving, but yeah, you're also just going to dissolve at the end of this. There is nothing permanent here, and enjoy the ride, as Bill Hicks would say.
Yeah. Oh, Bill, did you ever see Bill Hicks?
I'm unfortunately too young. I do have his discography, like the entirety of his sets, and I've listened to all of his music CDs. Oh, I loved his philosophy and approach.
I saw him live at his peak, and then I saw him. And then he came and saw me. He was diagnosed with I think stomach cancer, and so he was going on a barbecue eating binge. He was going around to all the best barbecue, and he was in Kansas City, and I was doing a show there. It wasn't crowded at all, but Bill came and sat there and very quietly and watched the whole show, and then I had a little chat with him after. It was beautiful. He was very soft-spoken and so aware. His awareness. There was a whole cult of those guys: Sam Kinison, Bill Hicks, all of them. They were all there. And what was his name? Carrot Top. Carrot Top came from that gang too, and Carrot Top was the only outsider. He was kind of frowned upon because he did what do you call it? Prop comedy. Yeah, but Carrot Top is another little genius. He's got his own theater in Vegas. Yeah, and so he's doing incredibly well.
It's interesting to watch as the generations as people come onto the scene and they get their kind of first wave in the mainstream, and then if people only ever absorb the mainstream culture, they only ever see them as one thing. So I think, like, last time I saw Carrot Top, he's jacked as well. So he's really got into sort of fitness and kind of changed the image that most people would have had in the head of him as when he was first on mainstream national television in America.
Yeah. He's all buffed, everything. No, he's a very, very, very intelligent guy, and he knows. See, the thing is, if you know your limitations, man, and your strengths, and you enjoy them, you got it made. You know, just like some of those pop singers, you know, like a Pat Boone or even the Grateful Dead. Now, I never got into the Grateful Dead because I was playing music at the same time. I kind of knew what they were doing. They weren't doing anything that I wanted to necessarily learn or, you know, copy or be part of. But then I saw a documentary of Bob Weir, and blew my mind. Then he's got a beautiful guitar collection. I'm talking about state of the art, the best. Yeah. Then they had a method to their madness. They weren't just some group thrown together to go out and make some money. They were playing out of love. Yeah. And then they decided they loved playing so much that they would live together. And then they toured together, they lived together, and they never chased the pop chart at all. They found their niche and their self-recording, and they never worked for anybody. They just worked for themselves. Yeah. And so every bit of money that came in, it was for them. You know, it was mind-boggling that they were the biggest selling, biggest. They made more in the concerts, and I guess they got respected by the Deadheads to the point, you know, where, like, you take when the Stones try to do their thing at Altamont, you know, the Stones were a great bar band, you know, like they would cover other people's material. And it wasn't until I guess at the beginning when Mick and Keith they wrote a couple of songs that they still do. Mm-hmm. But the dead Bob Weir and them, like he was a backup guitar player, rhythm guitar player. And so in order to make his life more exciting, he studied jazz piano with all the greats, the great Bobby Timmons, all these great jazz pianists, Bill Evans. And then he learned to play the guitar like they would play piano. And that, in my estimation, give the dead their longevity, mm-hmm. because instead of playing those simple three chords, all of a sudden he threw all these other chords in there, and then he, Bob Weir, and subliminally added to their sound, mm-hmm. and to me it kept Bob Weir interested in what he was doing. It's incredible. I started watching Jerry Garcia and that, but that was like, okay, I get it. Halfway into it, but I watched Bob Weir all the way, and because I'm a rhythm guitar player, but that's what I've been doing lately, is sort of clearing a lot of myths that I've lived with all my life, and they were like self-induced myths. And then I'm thinking, like, there's one bucket list I haven't done yet, and I don't know if I will. And that's to learn algebra.
Interesting.
I failed I quit high school because of algebra. Mm-hmm. And then when I was in prison, I tried to get my diploma. And in order to get your grade 12 diploma, you have to know algebra, and which I studied for a bit in prison. But I don't know, too old. I don't know why. My son and my wife, no, not my wife, but my son for sure, he can do algebra. I got some kind of mental block, but one day I'm going to say, okay, enough of that. Because being a senior, I can sit in on any university class, I want, and I won't get accredited for it, but I can do that. I might do that just for my own thing,
That's interesting. Is that because I suppose they're considering, well, given the knowledge, you can't really do anything with it. He's going to be dead soon anyway. So is that the reason why they're allowing seniors, whereas they'll charge young men and women tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands for that education, for them to use it, to actually go and earn it, but then just for curiosity's sake, I suppose, or to hit a bucket list. Yeah, I think it's annoying that society's geared that way, but it's good in a way that obviously you get to go and top up on that knowledge,
I try to tell seniors all the time, when they start moaning and groaning about their age, I tell them, I said, take advantage, man. Take advantage. If someone gets up, to give you a seat, thank them, sit down, and like if they want to put you in the front of the line, do it. Like I play golf, and I'm not that bad, with my friends, but I take advantage of that age. When it comes to teeing off, I'm not back with the men. I'm up there with the ladies and the old guys. I walk up, and it's only like 20 yards or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's enough. Instead of being embarrassed about being old, be proud. Say, okay, thank you, because I get up there and knock the shit out of that ball, and because I'm sort of like, I guess what it is too, I like being on stage, If I got people watching me, then everything's settled. I can settle down. I can putt. I can drive. I can do a lot of things. Like a lot of people get stage fright. I'm the opposite. If I don't have anybody watching me, then I don't really care what happens, But if I got one person watching me, then I'll stand up straight and I'll hit that ball. Yeah, it's a trip. No, that's the key. I tell my people all the time, my cameo people, that growing old is a privilege. It's you've been spared, and so go and enjoy every bit of it. You see people sitting, like that's in prison. the old guys, you always tell who's old or sick in prison, because they walk around with a foam cushion, because there's nothing soft in prison to sit on. And so what these guys do, the older guys, they get a piece of foam, and I don't know where they get it from, but I know that when the old guy, friend of mine, he was across the cell from me, the cubicle, and then when he left, it was almost like a passing of the baton. He says, "Tom, here's my cushion. Enjoy." And so here am I walking around with a cushion, and yeah, I mean, enjoy who you are, because you're only going to be that person for a little while.
It's exactly that. And it is, as you say, it's the rarest. I mean, just looking statistically, I suppose the majority of us get our youth, and it's obviously wild and varied, and it's all in a complete spectrum of experience that we all live it. But yeah, to actually be fortunate enough to have lived a life to then have the opportunity to, as you're doing now, to challenge the myths and the narratives of your life that you've just kind of allowed to, I learned this in the 70s and I haven't really thought about it since, to actually have that reflective time to kind of go, well, what do I believe? What do I think? I think that is a truly wondrous time. And I think that there's a project, I believe it's in one of the Scandinavian countries, where to deal with student accommodation, they were pairing young students with then elderly residents in care homes and get them to live together. And what they found was the health of both improved, but the knowledge and experience that the youth had, because they were able to extract it from the older people, but instead of it being just from one limited knowledge sort of perspective, they were able to have sort of wider conversations of, oh, well, 20 years ago, I thought this, 30 years ago, I thought that. And it was able to give them a much more rounded understanding of what it is to be human, rather than just accepting, trying to believe there's one reality and I should think one way about one thing. Everything is always changing and fluctuating.
Yeah, I mean, that's, and we have to be aware of that. Not all of us, by the way, just some of us. I think the thinkers and the writers and the poets, and the ones that, I'm back. Sorry.
That's quite all right.
Can you, what happened is that my Tesla got a flat tire. And so yesterday, the guy come up to fix it. And I was doing a podcast, and he kept trying to phone and tell me that he was out in front. And I kept hanging up on the guy. And I was really pissed off. I thought it was some kind of crank call. And so finally, my daughter, she showed up, and the guy's ready to leave. And so so my daughter talked him into staying. Then my daughter come and got me. And so it's the same guy, the same. Yeah, it's the same guy. And so he knew what to do. I didn't have to leave, but he went down and changed the tire and everything. So I'm good to go.
Excellent. It was weird there for a moment. I don't know if it's going to come across in the recording, but it tried to enter you into the room while we were in the room. So I had like two different screens coming across there.
That was me trying to get back in, I guess.
The joys of modern technology. I actually read something quite interesting the other day that Zoom has done more since its inception to reduce carbon emissions than all of the electric cars combined.
You're kidding.
Yeah, because
everybody's at home.
Yeah, because otherwise, obviously, if we wanted to sit and record this podcast, I'd have to fly out to you, which is quite several thousand miles, and obviously then the cost and the carbon footprint of that. But then obviously we can talk in real time, and it's only really the power needed for both of our devices and then the internet and infrastructure in between.
That's amazing. And wow. And that's the way I'm looking at all these empty office buildings, and I'm thinking, wow. And then people say they miss the water cooler. And I'm looking at a water cooler. What are you talking about? Hanging around the water cooler. Duh.
Yeah.
What's done around the water cooler except gossip?
Mm-hmm.
Are you getting any real business done around the water cooler?
Yeah, I was gonna say
it's just people. Yeah, people with just habits. And a lot of times, people will say things that they heard their parents say just because it's the right time to say it.
Yeah, it's like a learned behavior, like a parrot almost.
Yep. Yeah. No, I look at this lockdown as not an inconvenience at all. In fact, it's more of a sign of things to come. Because look how we adapt. I mean, I know a lot of people. My daughter-in-law, she's a windmill environmentalist scientist. And so she works from home. She's been working from home. But for a while there, she had to ride a bicycle in Boulder up a mountain almost to go to work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it was like a 10-mile ride either way. And she's in fantastic shape, but that was good weather, bad weather, whatever. And now she's been working at home. And so much so that they managed to move to Los Angeles, and now they're in Mexico because she can work Zoom no matter where she is. It's got me sold, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
When I had a chance to get off the performing, I thought about it for about 2 seconds and said, "Good, we're done."
Yeah.
I'm home. Yeah, because there's a thrill of being on stage and working and doing that, but there's also the travel, the hotels, the you can't do anything if you're performing one night. That's a whole 3-4 nights, days dedicated to that one performance. And now I've done as many as 15, 20 cameos. And I don't know how many podcasts. And if we had to do the performance, and actually, I got the message out more like with Zoom than any other time. My wife and I are more popular than we've ever been, thanks to what's that one? The TikTok. Yeah, we're big TikTokers.
Yeah, I've been enjoying watching your content come together. And again, as I was sort of saying before we started recording, that it's comforting to me to think that I can experience love long into my life watching yours and Shelby's relationship.
Oh yeah, it's no, the secret. There's a secret involved. First of all, you have to find a Shelby. Woo! I was so lucky. But, it was so ordained. I've known her since she was 15 years old. Yeah, we were neighbors. In fact, she was a fan of our band. She was one of the girls that would come and see us play. And she was more interested in the singer and the bass player than she was me. But the singer and the bass player, they weren't really interested in her. And I was the only one, there to talk to. And so we ended up being friends. And then the friendship evolved as time went by. And then we did acid together. That's when acid first came in. When acid first came into being, and neither one of us really knew what it was. She wasn't a big pothead at all. She didn't like it at all. But she did like acid. She liked LSD. And she's an artist, so you can see why. And we've been together ever since. We never meant to be together. And I think that's what kept us together. because she was very content with me being married, because it gave her freedom that she never had before. She had the freedom of being in love and loving me, and but yet not having to be the boyfriend, the husband, the significant other. We were just in love with each other, and that was it. And so it's a great love story. And then when we finally, my wife, who put up with so much, I was always nice and providing and everything, but it was when I became a comedian. As long as I was a musician, she was going to hang on to me. But as soon as I became a comedian and I brought a little Mexican home and he slept on the couch, that was it. It was like, okay, you're out of here. and that was when Shelby and I got together, and we've been together ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when was that?
I guess it was 1970.
Wow.
Yeah. 1970. 69, I was still technically with my wife, but 70 was when we came to LA and decided to try to make it as a comedian. And we did. It took a year, but we did. We had an act. We had everything. We had an act. We had a look. We had a purpose. Then we had a recording, and we were unique, and everything fell together, and here we are.
Wow. So from that time, that connection, something else I learned when again I was Googling away looking for topics and things to sort of discuss in this podcast, was I didn't realize that yourself and Cheech had won a Grammy. Is it not Grammy? Emmys? It was Emmy, Grammy? I've mixed them up in my head. Grammy, yeah.
Yeah, it was, well, first of all, we got nominated. Every album we ever did got nominated right off the bat, because there was very few comedy albums at the time. There was, I think, Steve Martin and George Carlin and Bill Cosby. But Cheech and Chong, when we hit, we should have got a Grammy for the first album, because it the date's not here, but it just went viral.
Yeah.
Back then.
Before viral was viral.
Yeah. And so, but then we got nominated, and that was good, because we got on the elevator, and we had the Three Dog Night group. My ex-brother-in-law was a drummer, and so we had that connection with the Three Dog Night. And when we first came to LA, they tried to manage us, but they sent the underling to be with us, and they really couldn't do anything, because they were a music trained operation. And so when I asked the management to lend me $500 to buy a car, they gave our contract back. So the next time I saw them was in the elevator. We got nominated for a Grammy. We saw them. Hey, what's up, guys? And we never won, but we got on television. Ed Sullivan mispronounced our name on television. And one of the contenders, Cheech and Chong. But then the third album, we did win. Yeah. We could have won more, but winning accolades was not our deal.
Yeah.
No, our deal was promoting pot. That was our big deal.
Well, you certainly did that rather well for many decades.
And we were right. When we do these interviews, and they would accuse us of turning on more people than Noriega onto drugs. And I said to the guy at the time, I said, what if we're right? What if they find out that marijuana is a medicine and that it can help people, and all these laws are bullshit? What if we're right? And here we are,
Yeah,
legal and worldwide now, and it's going to be legal worldwide eventually.
but yeah, I mean, even since last we spoke, Dubai of all places in United Arab Emirates, you can now just disclose THC products. So whereas before there was a famous case a few years ago of an American who was having routine surgery but had THC in his system from having been in America a week or so previous. And because the doctor found it as part of a random blood test, he was arrested and detained. Whereas now in the past year, they've basically said that at an airport, if you fly through the United Arab Emirates, you can disclose cannabis products in the same way you can alcohol. So because it's a dry country, you've got to then give up the alcohol at the border. So rather than you being a criminal and being chased, and in some cases ending up with a 5-10+ year prison sentence, you can just sort of, go, okay, I will put this in the bin. So that even in just the past year since we've spoken, again, that huge change. So I can imagine since the times of you guys being interviewed back in sort of the mid-70s and being accused of all sorts of crimes to the culture and to the consciousness of the people, that juxtaposition must be crazy to have lived through, to be you sat this side of it now. Is it hard to not feel self-righteous?
Not at all. No, because there was always an underground. Like one time I was coming through Boise, Idaho, I believe, and I'd just been I was at a bong convention, and they gave me a beautiful bong, and I had that in my luggage. And so when I went through the x-ray, the guy gets on the phone right away. He says, we got something here and blah, blah. And he started talking and getting the cops all excited and everything else. And so I told the guy, he said, what is this, sir? I said, it's a bong. And he says, a bong. I said, a water pipe. And he says, these are illegal, aren't they? I says, no, they're not illegal. I'm Tommy Chong, Cheech and Chong. And he goes, oh. And he gets on his phone, he starts telling the guy, and he goes, okay, sir, there you go. Here's your bong. Have a nice day. They let us through. As soon as the guy started talking to me, my wife, who told me, you're going to get stopped with that bomb. She just pretended she didn't know me. She just walked away. She walked away and went shopping or something. No, it's we're changing it all. So now let me get this straight. A dry state, Ireland is dry.
Ireland and the UK Dubai.
Oh,
it's
Dubai.
In the capital of the United Arab
they
Emirates.
Are they Muslim? Is that why?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Dubai. I've got some friends from Dubai here. He's a son of a prince, and he's a golfer too. And his kids are all big TikTok fans. Yeah. I know a lot of the wealthy people now that I've been sort of like mainstreamed.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as I went mainstream, a lot of the Trumpies and that, I think I told you last time I was on that I have a lot of wealthy Trumpy friends, and we went through the whole election, with me being on the other side, and they thought that was cute, that I was for Hillary, and then Trump pulled all the crap that he pulled, and here we are. Here we are, getting as close to World War III as we'll ever get.
Yeah, it's crazy. Again, one of the only things actually of a news article that came up was this is how bad the mainstream news has got. I think it was not the New York Post, but a New York paper reporting on a tweet that you had done in response to one of the Capitol Hill rioters who got 8 months, and you tweeted, "I got 9 months for selling bongs."
Yeah.
And the paper had basically tried to paint it as if you had had this huge go at the guy, and all you'd done is highlight the fact that he was part of an armed insurrection on the capital of your country. You got some
Yeah.
people high and sold some bongs, yet you were served the harsher sentence.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's where they are. I mean, they didn't want to charge a lot of those people. And then they're finding out now. Oh, man, they're finding out all sorts of crap now. Well, Trump, always, there was something evil about Trump right from the beginning. I thought he had a shot. And he did have a shot, because he claimed to be a builder. And so when he was running against Hillary, I thought, you know what? What if he really is a builder, and then he takes on the infrastructure, which America really needs? You can't even imagine how much money he would have made on the side, with bribes and so on, and legitimately. Everything would be legit. You could. That's one thing. It's very hard to trace. Is building costs. And just think of that. But that's the trouble with petty thieves. They will take the coins because it's easier to carry than the currency. At least they got something. That's that attitude. And when we found out how really dense Trump is, it was almost like, well, with me, I felt sorry for the guy more than anything, because he really is retarded, and it's from lack of love, lack of training. He never got trained. He got trained by a criminal, his dad. And he'll never get rid of that mindset, I've met a few guys, I won't mention the names, but I was in jail with people that are professional criminals, and when they go to jail, it's like the price of doing business. They just do it. They accept it. They do it. And they conduct business there. Only thing is, they are missing. When you're a criminal, no matter how successful you are, well, like Putin, no matter how successful the guy is, he doesn't feel good about himself.
There is no top there, so you have to then keep escalating, leveling up, and then eventually it becomes. It's self-destructive. You can't keep building and building until the pressure from the top crushes that at the bottom.
Yeah. If it's built on lies, you see that's the whole thing about lies. Lies can't sustain.
A lie has to be repeated and constantly maintained and plastered and polished and
and it still doesn't sustain. It doesn't last. And what lasts is truth, and no matter how true it is, it's that the tortoise and the hare. It's always the tortoise will win because he just plows ahead. That's what's going on now. But but with Trump, I understand the way he thinks, and I really. The thing, what happened with Trump, he became an actor to the point where you blur the lines. Sometimes actors, that happens to actors, they blur the line. They become that character so deep. A lot of times they can't get out of it, because we almost talked about the Lion King. And the reason I never took the Lion, it was me. Cheech took it. But I had a choice, and I said Disney, Cheech and Chong at Disney. Now, if they were saying play Cheech and Chong, I would be there. But the fact that they wanted first of all, they were so down on my lifestyle. And I'm not saying our lifestyle, the Cheech, it was basically my lifestyle. And they were so down on it that they wouldn't allow people like me into their park, their theme park.
Mm-hmm.
And then now they want me, because I'm famous, they want me in a movie so they can use Cheech and Chong as
Mm-hmm.
we were in a few of those movies, where they just use a name to get the people to notice the movie,
Yeah.
And so I turned it down, and by turning it down, I turned down probably maybe $1 million, maybe in fees and so on. But I have no regrets, because you can't do what I do and hold your head up high unless you stay true to the cause. You can't, just because you get threatened with wealth, because that's a threat too.
Mm-hmm.
That's another jail. You see, you can go to the wealth jail, or you can go to the real jail. And I turned down a few things money wise, because it wasn't right. Like one time I had a job directing a movie over in Italy. Now that part I liked. I liked going to Rome and prepping a movie. That was fun. But working with the actors, I found out that they just wanted my name. They didn't really want my direction.
Yeah.
And so when I made some suggestions about the script, they were like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
We wrote this masterpiece and blah blah. And so what I really did, I quit the movie. I fired myself, and then I went back and I gave Canon back their money. Mm-hmm. They gave me $500,000 to do it, and I gave them $500,000 back. And and they were like shocked. And then after they congratulated me because the movie was unreleasable. They couldn't even release it. It was so bad. And so they understood that. And then they gave me another project, which never made it, but it was the roadie movie. It was the roadie warrior, the roadie warrior, and it was cute, but wasn't of its time,
Yeah, it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah,
it's again, it's refreshing to hear someone speak of integrity and of a lifetime of the continuity and consistency of such a position. Quite a lot of people, especially, I suppose it's slightly different nowadays, because things feel a lot more desperate. It feels like poverty is a lot closer. If you miss one paycheck, you're down and you can't get back up. You're lost for months, years. But it is refreshing to hear that that you've turned down those roles in the past. I mean, do you find that you still get the kind of offers where people want to just sort of trade on your name these days?
Not now. Now it's changed, where they want me for who I am, a grizzly old guy. Like I did The Color Out of Space. What's it? That great fiction writer. What's his name? I can't think of his name right now. But anyway, the director wrote a part in there where I played like an old hermit, and it was he wrote it for me, and then they contacted me, and of course I give them a nice easy price, because it was a Nick Cage movie, and so it was a major, and it got released. It got good reviews, did well, and I got to go to Portugal with my wife, and she had a great time. I worked every day. I was in makeup like 6 hours a day, which I didn't mind. I love making movies. I love every bit of. We did a little pilot for the 90s show, the 70s show, and now it's the 90s show, and we all were. All the old actors and that, we were so happy. We're back. We're back in makeup, getting the hair done, getting all this stuff that some people hate. I love every bit of it. It's such a exciting genre to be in. You know, it's you can't explain it.
Yeah.
That's why the movie business is really, it really is a lot more than people really give it credit for, you know, for being able to create art, but you're creating life. There's a lot of life have been copied from movies. Well, look at the Ukrainian president. He started off as
A comedian.
an actor and playing the president. And he got elected because they said, yeah, that's what we want. That's why Trump got elected, because he looked like he might be able to do something. You know, he had vitality, he had wit, you know, and everybody's gambled on him and said, okay, let's give him a shot, you know, and then you find out, whoop.
It's interesting. There's these points of crisis almost over the past century where, we turn towards the facade of power rather than the actual ability to do something constructive with it. Obviously, think of someone like Reagan, who also was another actor. And then the era and what follows. You know, Reaganomics in America, we had Thatcherism over here in the UK, and arguably what we're living under now, economically and globally, in terms of the consequences to society, ecology, and the environment, is because of this deregulation under that. And it's interesting now that we live in such a self-referential world. So that Hollywood machine and the kind of the movie making business, it's become quite, I don't want to say elitist, but in a small, it's quite a exclusive small group of people. So people fill in spots. So one of the things that I was quite happy to see you put yourself pop up in was the Jane Silent Bob reboot. As the butler at the end. And again, then looking through, it's like, of course you would be in that. When I think of like what's happening now because cannabis is more accepted in obviously with California since Prop 64 and obviously legalization in the state, that it's really affecting the movies. Whenever cannabis is now referenced, before it was a plot point for something negative. A character was going off the rails, so they're doing cannabis, or you know, you need something silly to happen, so the characters consume cannabis and they end up waking up somewhere they don't know where they are. Whereas now it's just they smoke a joint in the same way as before they would have a drink, and it was part of the film, but not you know, like a structural point of it, you know.
Well, it's reflecting society as it is. See, back in the day, the writers of the movies were so good, but they were old, and they were caught in their time zone, and they spilled over into, and that's when Cheech and Chong came along. We sort of broke that mold, and we pushed everything into the young hipper group. You know, that's when rappers and people like Howard Stern and all these people that had those impulses, we freed them. We said, okay, we give them license. There's been so many using us as a adjective, more or less, like describing, you know, oh, that's just like a Cheech and Chong movie, or you know, they got that thing going. Well, there's a truth that I like about movies, and when I'm scrolling through the movies now, you know, because I'm in heaven. I go on documentary binges, I go on Western, I go on Hitler binges. Like I've watched every Hitler thing I could see. And you know what I admired about it? It was the photography was so phenomenal, because Hitler and the movie people, they hit together, and the cameraman and the movie people wanted Hitler was going to put on these great spectacles, which he did, and they had to be filmed, which they were. And that itself, and you could see the evil, and you could see everything. It was right up on the screen. It was, and they weren't hiding anything. It was like advertisement for anarchy, which it was. It was like controlled anarchy, where the evil genius really did take over. And rather than a genius, I would say Hitler was a genius opportunist. Yeah, more than a genius, because if had he been a genius, he wouldn't have done that. He wouldn't have done what he did. He would have taken that talent and then turned Germany into some incredible architect. But he could only do his architecture by having control of Germany. That was the only way he could do it, and that's what he did. But then he also brought out that evilness of in order to unite the people, you have to have an enemy.
Yeah.
And then, but not a dangerous enemy. You had to have an enemy that was more like a pack of rats or something that you could just stomp and get rid of that way. You know, not a true enemy that would equalize whatever you were doing. The enemy had to be soft and non-violent, and you know, that kind of thing. That's what I learned, and that's what I'm looking at Putin, and Putin. He's a warrior. He wants to fight. He only knows how to. He's a warrior, you know, and that was like Eisenhower was a warrior, you know, and if we had to listen to Patton, General Patton, we wouldn't have had this problem with the Ukraine right now, because Patton wanted to take over Europe, and we could have done it. We could have taken out the Russians. We could have done it. It would have been a fight. We could have done it, but of course, everybody just wanted peace at any cost. Yeah. You know, and so that's what they gave up. Did you know that what's the seaport in the Ukraine they captured before?
Testing me now. I haven't seen the news in a couple of weeks.
But anyway, that whole area.
I was in the lower region, the Crimea.
Yeah, Crimea was supposed to be for the Jews. Did you ever hear that one?
No.
All the powers to be, you know, Stalin and Roosevelt and who else? Montgomery, the Englishman. Yeah. You know, when they were dividing up Europe, Patton wanted they decided to give Crimea to the Jews. You know, it would have been a nice place, because so many were slaughtered all over Germany and France and the Ukraine. So they wanted to give Crimea to the Jews, and then the Stalin and everybody got together and said, no, we'll keep it. You know, the Ukrainians, that's the Ukrainians, and which they thought was going to be Russia, but we had a chance. But now the world is evolving, and that's what happens. That's what happens. We're at a time now. This, you know, Biden keeps worrying about getting into World War III. We're in World War III now.
Yeah, it's World War III is never going to look like World War II, and it's not going to be millions of men. It's not going to be I mean, the First World War was trenches, then it was technology. Now it's digital. It's all about what is said on news sites and everything else. Well, yeah,
drones. That's why they don't want to send any airplanes to Russia, because they got the old-fashioned, you know, air defenses. But there's no defense against those drones, man.
Yeah.
And they've unleashed 3 more on them. What's that one? Cutthroat or something? It's one, and they don't like to talk about it too much. But this one, a kid with a computer can operate it. You know, there's no training, like all these missiles and sites and everything. There's years of training. They're drones, man, as a kid with a computer. and that's what World War III is going to be. And we're in it, by the way. We're in it now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's why there is such hesitation. Obviously, there's historic issues there around NATO and around exactly, a lack of kind of will to finalize a kind of a conversation at the end of the Second World War, which obviously then ultimately led to war in Korea, led to Vietnam, led to a lot of issues down with China and Tibet, and Taiwan, etc. And like those sort of areas. You can see the escalation throughout our history, but now we're at a point where corporate power is equal to or greater than most nation states. So I think that in a lot of ways, the countries are not having to go to war with Russia because someone like Netflix goes, all right, you're not allowed Netflix. Tesla goes, all right, we're going to turn your cars off. You know, all the governments say we're not going to buy your oil. And I think there's the new ways of warfare that are being played out in different arenas. We're all being made into soldiers. The front lives are our ways of thinking. We're being told into a binary debate. Are you Russia or are you Ukraine? It's that kind of that false narrative again, that we're only given some information by either side to form an opinion on either side, when most people go, well, I know I can probably point to Ukraine on a map. But again, without actually going and doing the research, most people have not come across any sufficient information to actually make an informed decision. So they'll just take whatever is in front of them. You know, if they like this newspaper, they'll back that opinion. You know, if they like that news pundit, they'll back their opinion.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, when you think about it, there's one, I think there's one reason why Biden is not jumping into this war. And that's because it's a war between white people. See, all the other wars that they jumped right into, there were wars with brown people, black people, you know. And this is a war between white people. And no one wants to, that's the war they don't want to start, you know, World War III with white people. Because they had no problem going to, going over to Korea or going over to Vietnam, you know, to save our way of life. Duh. You know, and then Afghan. Oh, even after the Russians lost, the Americans said, "Oh, okay, yeah, we can take over." You know, we're together. We know how to do this shit. And the thing is, those countries, they just wanted the war so they can have an economy. These are warriors, and that was my take on Putin. Putin sitting there with the economy tanking, the oil prices going really crazy down, and he's got this expensive army that he's paying, and he's getting no return. And like Trump said, you know, why go to Iraq if we can't take the oil? When we're going in there, we need something. Well, with Putin, he's looking at Ukraine thinking, well, that should be part of Russia. You know, it used to be. So I think we should take it back, because they've got better access to the seas than we. Russia's landlocked, you see, and without the seaports in Ukraine, they're screwed. And that's really what Russia's doing now, you know, is trying to secure the seaport. They don't give a shit about the rest of the Ukraine. They just want that waterway, that passageway, and that's really what they're going after. But Biden and the white guys, it's a war between white guys, you know, and you know, just like France and Germany, the Nazis, you know, they got together. The white guys got together, you know. Even Catholics, they all said, "Oh, okay, yeah, you're right." You know, those Jews. Yeah, isn't it amazing? You know, it always amazes me that a lot of Catholics were for Hitler. In fact, Kennedy went over and was Hitler's buddy for a while, and yet the person they worship is a Jew. You know? Yeah,
there's so much of you can see how the populism of National Socialism in Germany, of Nazism, how it arose. And obviously there's been a lot of parallels drawn, some not necessarily hyperbole, but to quite a large extreme in the media across the Western world, obviously with leaders like Trump and Putin and others. I mean, even with like Boris over here in the UK, the guy's a buffoon, an absolute moron. Yeah, he's a clown, and therefore people would rather take kind of the clown who's not necessarily too serious over somebody who they don't fully agree with. And yet we don't need to agree with our politicians necessarily. We need to be able to trust that what they will do is for the interest of everyone. If you have a vote for a politician that only represents you, then that's a politician who isn't representing everybody else. And I think that that's kind of the danger on one hand of populism, but on the other hand is the idea that then, no, we can take what the majority wants and in some way create societies that are reflective of that, but it should never be done through violence or manipulation. And I think what Hitler, if anything, the legacy of what he created that's still alive today is how to manipulate media, how to manipulate and create propaganda and take certain narratives. So in Russia, Putin's a savior. You know, he's going into Ukraine to stop the Ukraine committing genocide against people in these regions that are pro-Russian, Russian-speaking speakers. Obviously, yeah, formerly part of Russia as part of the Federation before the Soviet Union. So they're making that argument for renationalizing.
Which is sad, and it's a lie, and it's unnecessary. The thing is about the racism, the ignorance. Again, it's not unfounded. You know, their fears can be realized because that's the human animal. You know, you always. When you think of racism, especially with the black slave trade, you always got to remember it was blacks that were selling their own people into slavery. You know, it wasn't the white man. The white man could not go into those countries and take out those slaves themselves. They had to buy them from slavers who were black, you know, another tribe. You see, and that's the same thing as Putin and the Ukraine. Mm-hmm. You know, it's really, it's almost like the Muslims and the Jews, you know, because they were brothers until the one brother went Muslim and the other brother went Judaism, you know, and so that's what's happening now, you know, because you have relatives just like our friends, my Trumpy friends, you know, we don't talk politics. We're not supposed to talk politics when we're together, you know. And when you ask them about Trump now, all they say, well, I don't like what he does, but I don't like what he says, but I like what he does. You know, no taxes for these guys. And I have a lot of fun with them because, you know, they're friends of mine. And one time they all got together and they almost attacked me. They were younger kids, so they found out that I was a Democrat, and they come in there, and they really wanted to know, you know, did I really feel that way, you know, about Biden, you know, and what rich people do, they just have lies, you know. Like the people, you know, the Koch brothers or any of those people that are burning fossil fuels, you know, they want to keep that industry alive because, you know, they're making billions of dollars, but they're ruining the planet. And so those are the ones that are, you know, that Trump's trying to keep on, you know, keep going on his side. But these again, see, it's a greed thing. It's all about money. It's all about money when it comes down to it, and that's Putin's thing, you know. But if you look at Putin's yacht, that I get, I don't know if they got it yet or not. The Italians are going to take it. I guess they will take it because Putin is sort of the pariah amongst the free world.
Do you think that part of this? So something I was kind of working on as a general thesis in my head is when I've looked back in history. Typically, the transition of power in cultures happens in around late 30s to 40s. Do you know what I mean? So then that generation gets into power of CEOs and whatever else. Whereas we're now seeing, you know, presidential candidates in their 70s, 80s. We're starting to see sort of CEOs holding their positions in 70s and in their 80s. And I think that in a lot of ways, very few people, I think, arrive at that sort of age like yourself that have that ability to be introspective and to kind of go, well, what do I believe in? Who am I? Rather than just kind of going, no, and stubbornly just plowing forward, having never looked up. Do you think that's having a consequence? Because I think almost like there's that greed on one side, but I think as long as they focus on the greed, they don't have to focus on their own mortality.
Well, here's the thing. Greed, again, is ignorance, just pure ignorance. You can have a lot of wealth and not be greedy. You can have all the wealth in the world and not be greedy. Greedy is fear. When you're greed, it means that you got to grab yours while you can, for whatever reason, and that's what greed is. But that's why the electric car, like Musk, when he gave all the specs, the battery, everything to the automobile industry. Yeah, he could have patented it and become beyond the richest man in the world. He could have, but instead, it's too much. He doesn't need money. It's not about money. And when we can get, and this is what we're getting with TikTok, by the way, and the Bitcoin, the blockchain. What we're getting now, and like I say, TikTok. You got millionaires. What's that guy called? The Beast.
Mr. Beast, yeah.
Mr. Beast. He's incredibly. He's got, I don't know, almost 250 million followers. That's where the power is coming into. You see, and people like myself, like I have a vision. How the movie industry can set a precedent as how we act. How we do it, and you can call them documentaries, or you can call them docudramas, or docu-comedies. You see, and that's what I'm looking to evolve. That's what my next evolution goes into the movie industry. But it's more of like a movie of what's going on now, and like the news. Like I figured out a way to help the city with the homeless. And my plan is to create a movie industry. I don't know if I told you this before, but my plan is to create a movie industry based around the homeless and the migration. I call it migration because homeless is part of migration. You're really going from one lifestyle into another lifestyle, and that journey might be your lifestyle. And I asked Frank Gehry, the great architect, about his take on the homeless. And he said, very wisely, he said, we've always had homeless. And in the Middle East, they're called Bedouin, and they just follow the herds from pasture to pasture. And in Europe, they're called gypsies. And what they do, with their wagons, they go from town to town. And by the way, the reason they don't have a problem in Europe with gypsies is because the gypsies in the cities all have an understanding that the gypsies are allowed to be in their city for an extended period of time, after which they have to leave. In other words, they can't settle there. And when they leave, the city gives them money to leave. And if they don't leave, then they get arrested. Then they get treated pretty mean, because the prison system in Europe is definitely not the same as it is here. In Europe, in France anyway, when you are sentenced to jail, there's a lot of times they don't have room for you. And so you have to wait until there's room before you can go start serving your jail sentence.
Oh, that's horrible.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's America has to come up with a European way of dealing with humanity. You see, if you notice right away, as soon as the war hit, all these countries welcoming their people in because they've been on that side. Now, America with Trump we got some migrants coming down hiking 1,500 miles, and he won't even let them in for an interview. You know, he wants to stop them like they're invading the country, something. You know, so America's got a long way to go.
So does the UK. I mean, to be fair, because it's been pretty shit since we obviously with Brexit have left the European Union. There's a graphic that went around quite recently, and it was open visas versus visas in Europe, and the only country that needed a visa for entry for Ukrainians fleeing an active war zone. Bear in mind, there's now 2 million plus have left the country. It was the UK, and our Home Secretary Priti Patel is basically like, well, what skills have you got? It's like, well, no, they're fleeing a war zone. Let them chill. Let them get 5 minutes, collect their shit together. I mean, literally, it's within living memory of some people still in this country of the Blitz, of when we were actively bombed by Germany, when we sent, I can't remember what they called it, but basically there was this mission for trains, and they basically put loads of kids from the major cities on these trains and sent them out to the countryside. Some of them were left and went to other countries, and people moved from country and territory and regions. And everyone just welcomed each other in, and there was some wonderful imagery that came out of the German media, and it just showed hundreds of Berliners there with signs that they'd written sort of in Ukrainian, and they were like offering like 1 bedroom, this amount of space. You know, there were people that had drawn simple graphics like of a family with a child saying that we can house this sort of thing, and people were there with toiletries and flowers and open arms, and just a wonderful reminder of humanity, of what it is that we all strive for, you know.
But the UK, you know, they're the original racist.
Oh yeah, we created this shit. Definitely agree with that.
No, the royalty, you know, the bloodline, the intermarriage.
Oh yeah, very very incestuous. Yeah, there's actually
keep everything white and bright.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happened. That's how America evolved. You know, we had to get away from that racist attitude and create our own democracy. Well, you know, it'll all come down. You know, it'll work out, because that's what's happening now. We're seeing our flaws, and like Biden, again, you know, Biden doesn't want to go to World War III. Well, we're in World War III, and I kind of dig it. And the thing is, by the way, I want to bring this to everybody's attention, is that it's who you know. If you want to make it in this business, in any politics, business, music, it always boils down to who you know. Who do you know? And how many of those really bright, influential people do you know? Because that's what happened with Trump. Trump, once he got the presidency, all these people that wanted the Republicans in, they were ready to go to work and create an America, you know, kind of like Reagan, or kind of like, you know, but in America. But Trump, being an actor, he couldn't get out of that his own way, because once you give him a role, like when he was given the Apprentice role, he became that guy.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when he became a president, he didn't like the Biden image or the Kennedy or the Reagan or any of those where they had to listen to people, because Trump doesn't like to listen to anybody, because he's stupid. He doesn't know what they're saying. He doesn't understand the words, unless you're talking about golf or football or something, you know, that where he has a little bit of knowledge. One of his guys called him a moron. He is. That's what he is. And I think Boris falls into that category too. He's more of a character than he is a leader, you know. And but does Boris listen to anybody?
It would seem not. Well, he changes. He flips and flops, and I think that's been the issue. The issue of it. I mean, he's the man who got Brexit done despite wanting to campaign for us to remain. Like it's very unprincipled. I think this is the issue we've got in the UK, is that Boris is, he's innocent because he's just that clown. even though his own sister has been and done interviews with the national media and said, no, this is a well-cultivated image. He deliberately messes up his hair before he gets on screen. He's crafted this clownish buffoon persona as a way of kind of diffusing from some of his really quite draconian and really antiquated and old world ways of thinking. But because he's part of that press machine, that conservative British elite and establishment, compared to anything else, they can paint him as just, it's the same old, things will continue, it'll be fine. Whereas anything else looks like a threat to that system. Someone like Jeremy Corbyn was basically painted as a terrorist. And the guy in his spare time likes to collect photos of drain covers. He has an allotment, he likes to produce his own food and stuff. Very simple, humble man. But it's put up against somebody like Boris. They painted him as this eco-terrorist. It was insane.
Yeah. Well, the craziness, that's what amuses the people. And it gives the ignorant people, something to hang on to. See, well, I like him. He talks plain.
It's the heel and the hero in wrestling, isn't it? It's the kayfabe.
Yeah.
It's that illusion of it. And most people, they forget they're watching wrestling, that they're watching this performance. They forget that at the end of the day, these two guys, they're going to hit the shower room, they're going to go for a drink later, and they know each other, they're involved in each other's lives. They go to weddings and they raise each other's kids. And
it's an act. It's an act. That's all it is. No, we're at a very interesting point in our life now, because we're evolved. You see what happened. This is why I tell people, it's the phone, the iPhone, the magic phone, that changed everything, because everything you need to know is on your phone. You can go to Wikipedia and say, is that true? Like we'll be talking and I'll say something about a movie, about anything. Boom, they look it up. It's on their phone right there, no matter how obscure. And so if people, and they will eventually, when they learn how to do it, because we're talking about generational gap now. There's a whole generation of people, that want to use the old electric typewriter, or they don't want to use the computer. They're still in the paper mode, and there's a lot of people with that draconian, weird, racist mindset, and they have a voice. But the truth is and that's what it is, the truth. The truth will set you free. And the reason it sets you free is because at the end of the day, you can't remember lies. It's hard to remember a lie. Did I say that? Because you got no basis to pin it on. And so you can lie about your lie. You can lie about your lie, but the truth never changes. I've been doing interviews now for I don't know how many years, a couple of years, and I stick as vehemently to the truth, and because now the truth can be embellished a taste, for comedic purposes, as I would say. But the truth itself is so powerful that you will remember that certain things, like Cheech and I one time, we're in Hawaii. Okay, we're back. We were in Hawaii, and we're getting ready to play at the amphitheater. Outdoor amphitheater, and Hollywood Bowl, or the Hawaiian Bowl, or something like that. Waikiki Bowl. And I remember very distinctly Cheech and I playing there, because the cops arrested all the Hawaiians in the back row who were back there smoking weed. And so I remember very distinctly. And then Cheech says, "We've never played here before, have we?" Now, Cheech, before that, was always known as the guy with the brain. He would remember shit that I would forget in a heartbeat. He always had, he was like the learned one. He went to school, he went to university, and got a degree in English, all that stuff. He couldn't remember. Then he started arguing with me. I said, no, we played here. He said, no, you're wrong. And when Cheech goes into, no, you're wrong. Like, you give me that, you're a stoner. You don't know what you're talking about. And then the promoter shows up. He had the newspaper articles of us playing their big front page articles, and they were laminated. and I said to Cheech, I think we played here before. And Cheech had to admit that. But what happens is liars forget their lies. And the curse of a liar is that they can't believe anybody else. And so Cheech, for a long time, he never believed that I discovered the Jackson 5, and until one time we actually met Michael Jackson. We were alone with him at the Roxy, and Cheech asked him outright, and Michael said, "Oh yeah, they did, yeah." That's true. Everything I said was true. I don't lie. I don't lie. And if I don't know, I don't know.
Yeah.
If I can't remember, I can't remember. I don't make shit up. I don't have to. And it's so powerful, because when you deal with truth, there's something. It's almost like going to a gym. And I guess it is, because what you're doing, you're building integrity. You can build integrity. And if you keep it up, sometimes you slip, like some guy, maybe a homeless or something, asks for money and you're not in the mood. And so you blow him off, and then later you might think about it and feel a little guilty, because I've done that. And then one time there's a homeless guy, because I like to get to the homeless, especially me, because a lot of times they recognize me, and they say, "Oh, that's Tommy Chong," and I'd hate to turn him down, and he go, "Oh, that's Tommy Chong."
Yeah. Oh man, it's been a pleasure. We've literally, again, I think we've touched on 2 or 3 of the topics that I've written down for my questions, but I've really thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I'm quite mindful of time, so I suppose I'll ask you 1 or 2 more quick questions, if that's all right.
Sure. Gotcha.
And it's another excuse to have you on again in another 10 months.
No problem.
Yeah, I suppose one of the things I noticed when I watched back through the videos, you were saying that you were looking to establish a podcast yourself with one of your sons. Is that something that you've put together?
Well, we've evolved from a podcast to a movie company, because I'm going to, and he's married with his new family. And he's more involved in the weed business. We were thinking about the podcast, but then I do so many guest shots that it's like I have my own podcast, and I'm all over the place. And in fact, it's better. It's better. I'm a better guest, I think. And it's better for me, and it's better for him too. He sort of he got married, and he sort of weaned himself away from being my partner to being a dad with a new baby and a wife that needs a lot of attention. So we're going to leave it at that. I'm going to pursue the movie idea, because I've got these connections now. Because my idea for the movie is to start filming everything like we do now. We're doing it now. Like my idea of getting the homeless off the streets in LA is to declare the area, LA area, a movie site. Mm-hmm. And we'll make a movie of the homeless. But when the movie's over, they have to leave. Mm-hmm. Because in order to be in the movie, they have to join the Actors Guild. They have to join the Extras Guild, or they have to join the unions. And they have to get paid, and they have to be treated like everybody else. Mm-hmm. That has a job. And the ones that need help will be given help, be referred to the different places. But the one thing that the movie that I want to do with the movie is clean up LA to the point. Like I've been to Europe, some places in Europe, that are very pristine. I mean, there used to be places in America where you couldn't loiter. They had a loitering law. And and that's how they kept the homeless away before, because they would say no loitering. So you couldn't have gangs of people hanging out at corners, But since the pandemic, those laws disappeared. Everything, it's almost anarchy now. People are getting robbed at gunpoint. People are being followed home in their car and being robbed because there's no law. Smash and grab. They're going into stores and smashing and grabbing because there's no security. The cops, we're not out there. It comes and goes. It'll come and go. And then and like there's a guy walking around New York shooting homeless people as they sleep. But that, to me, that's the fucking movie. I want to get that on screen.
Well, this is it. As you said, there's hundreds, thousands of different stories out there in each of these encampments in these regions that people don't just go, I'm going to grab a tent and go live in squalor. People don't choose a life of intravenous drug use, addiction, and dependency. It's every step that arrives them at that point, they may share a commonality of being in the same space and in the same sort of tents and being in a subpar sort of hygiene and health and nutrient position, but everyone arrives there at a different point. As you say, each of their stories is valid and deserves to be, as you say, told, and they should be paid for it. And in that payment, you give them a sense of identity, you give them something solid to aim for, and you give them then hope of a better future. Because when we face our past, we pave our future. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, and that's the direction that I'm in now, and it's very exciting. It's very exciting to me because the possibilities abound. Because now I'm at a position now. I don't need wealth. I never did. I just need a home base where I can set up my stuff and go with it. And I don't collect anything other than little stuff that I make, which someday will be very be very expensive. It's all good. Okay, I guess I got to go. That's my son calling me.
I'll let you get back to it again, Tommy. Pleasure as always, and I'll drop you a message and we'll get another one arranged before too long.
Yeah, I want to let me report on how the movie's going. If you see any action in the media, give me a call and I'll explain what happened.
Hell yeah! Look forward to it.
Okay, bro. Take care.
All right, all the best. Peace and love, brother. And that was Mr. Tommy Chong. I do love talking to that man. Although I say talking to that man, he's just so much to say, and he's just, everything leads to another topic, to another conversation, and I could literally just sit here in awe and just like, yep, wow. Because again, like even he throws in just an act. Oh yeah, I discovered the Jackson 5. Like when we were talking in the last episode of him sharing a cell with like Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, and again, just the wealth of knowledge that he has of different subjects. And I do hope to continue to get Tommy back here for many, many more episodes in the months and years to come, because as I said, the intertwining and the intersectionality of the crossover of the work that he has done, of the media that he has been involved with, the projects that he has been involved with, are pretty phenomenal, to be fair. So it is a real pleasure and privilege to be able to have him as a guest and to be able to be in liaison with him. So yeah, massive thank you once again to the legend that is Mr. Tommy Chong. I don't know, most of you probably do already follow him, but I will stick him in social media links in the bio below, as well as a couple of other little things that we've touched base on. Do hope you've enjoyed this. We covered quite a lot of things: geopolitics, spiritualism, sort of touched on a bit of religion, yeah, sort of drug legislation, sort of things like TikTok. So there's quite a lot of variety in there, and it is, as always, just wonderful to have that opportunity to speak to Tommy. So if you did also enjoy this, please do check us out at patreon.com/Simpa Life, where for less than a cup of coffee a week you can help me keep the lights on in this project. Yeah, and as I probably am going to have to be moving studio space very soon, so you may be seeing me next week in a different space. I'm not quite sure yet. We'll see what the dice of fate roll out to. But in the meantime, do please like, share, subscribe, rate this wherever you're finding it, and yeah, hopefully back here next week. In fact, we are back here next week with the legend that is Dan Larson, straight out of Canada. And then the following week, I believe, is Jeff Smith, MP from Manchester. So yeah, some good guests coming. So do check it out. Yeah, peace and love, folks. I'm gonna go chill the hell out. Yeah, I love you, and I hope you have a wonderful time whenever you get up to.